Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this AFK journey video. So in this AFK journey video, we're going to talk about ZBest free-to-play teams for the PVE side with my VN free-to-play account for the Chains of Eternity season. So these are the teams that have been running with regards to this season, and they are probably teams which is the strongest in the current meta, even if you're a free-to-play player, because they have been around for quite a while and most of the unit synergies are just really good, just upgraded with the current most meta updates to the teams itself. So for the very first team, we have the Mauler teams. So I'll call it the Mauler teams because there's quite a few modifications you can do to the team, but I'll say for this team in general, the core units will be these three. So this team is and should be the most free-to-play friendly because these units that you have right here, OD over here with Smokey, with Coco, they are insanely good for all the PvE contents in general, right? They are really good for your Dream Realm, really good for battle drills, really good for any PvE bossing single target or multi-unit contents. That they are easily the most recommended units for beginners and newcomers in the game. So the core of this team has this power to insta-kill the enemy through OD, right? The ability to do a whole bunch of AoE damage, as well as heal and buff with Smokey, and having this insanely good defensive capability of Coco to grant you massive damage reduction with shielding right here. So this will be the core for the team. If anything else, this tree is the most important, and then you probably need one more tank to hold the front line, as well as maybe one more support to give you additional sustain and protection, for example. So my current most powerful iteration is one consisting of Resto as well as Rowan. So the reason why I'm running this right now is because my artifact of choice is still Starshot spell in the early to mid game, because this artifact right here gives you so much in terms of damage through the AoE true damage, as well as the debuff to keep your team alive longer. And because this team has up to 6 bodies which are able to cast ultimate individually, we have 2 Fresto, 1 Rowan, 1 Smokey, 1 OD, and 1 Coco over here. We are able to cycle through this Starshot spell ability really fast, and with Rowan's ultimate support, we'll be able to do it even faster. So this team has the damage coming out from OD as well as Starshot spell, and also the insane sustain from 3 of the best supports in the game. So this is my current strongest team. Other modifications you can do if you are more budget friendly, or if you don't have Resto built up, for example, would be probably Entendra as well as another tank, right? So another tank could be either Torrent if you have Torrent built up. So Torrent is one of the units which is often in the recommended early game pushing or the early game wish list. If not, you can also use the likes of Almas, which is pretty decent because this tree over here is decently tanky, and then once you actually get killed, he'll actually go to the back line and provide very decent support for the team through stunning as well as shielding. So this would be some of the modifications. You can also use Brutus to give you that 5-second Indomitable to give you more survival, such that your backline comes online, right? Once Coco, once Smokey, once OD starts their ultimate, that's basically your team starting to move, and then you will eventually but surely wither the opponent down. So for this fight, I'll be using Ludovic as well as Torrent. So this is another combination that you guys can try to use. So Ludovic together with Torrent gives you the healing power as well as frontlining power from the Graveborn side when you combine it with the Maulers right here. So without further ado, let's showcase this team. Okay, so this is for those of you guys who don't have Resto built up. You can try to use this team setup. So if you don't have Ludovic, you can try to use Rowan, right? Basically the support side, you can switch I'll say you can switch Coco out, you can switch Rowan out for maybe either Damien, Hewin, or Ludovic, but Smokey I'll say is really important, because Smokey is actually like this secondary carry for the team in case OD's damage is not enough, right? So this is not my strongest. My strongest is the one with Resto and Rowan, so I'll showcase one more match, but this team works as well because the core idea is through OD as well as Smokey and Coco. So this is the team idea number 1. Okay, so this is the damage distribution, OD being the carry. Okay, so another added benefit for this team would be that this team actually does quite well against the elemental shielded units, because if you're using them with the Starshot spell, despite this whole team dealing mostly magical damage, Starshot spell is able to cycle through really quickly for the debuff as well as damage. So this will allow your units to actually do quite a bit of damage from your artifact ability right here. So this is one of the added benefit of this team that maybe the other magical teams might struggle with. So without further ado, let's give this team a try out against the Flamesoul. So we have the squirrels, or the monsters that runs to the front and does quite a bit of damage. But once Coco as well as Rowan's ultimates come in, as you guys can see, we are able to start the energy cycling going as well as the Star Shot spell ability going. So this is where we are dealing massive AoE damage to slow down the attack speed of Flamesoul as well as deal true damage to them. So this artifact of choice, I think it's subjected to what you need. You can use the snowman if you need additional taunts. You can also use the harmonic spell if you have no issue surviving but you need more damage. But for this team, I'll say in the early game, the best setup would be together with Star Shot spell, at least before this artifact reaches these levels, because you need quite a few days for you to reach level 15. So before that, Star Shot spell will be the best with this team. Okay, so for this next team, this team is what I'll call the Eironn, Almas and Ardent team, because these three units, they are pretty core to this team. Like, they are the basic structure of the team, right? If you don't have Almas, the team can still function. You can just put in other tanks to give you that additional frontlining power to protect your backliners. If you don't have Ardent, there are still many good options to give you control, damage, as well as your factional buffs. So the key unit in this team, right, the one that needs to be around for the team to work, is Eironn, because Eironn's insta ultimate as well as magic defense debuff is what glues everything together, right, to give your whole team more AoE magical damage even without Almas. But the strongest iteration would definitely be this 3 unit right here, because Eironn pulls everyone in, synergizes with Almas Prowling Roots, and then Almas over here, number 1, is able to provide additional stun from Ancient Tenacity, has the ability to go into the back line to provide Verdant Barrier for the frontliner, which in most cases will be Eironn, to keep him alive longer, and also has the ability to sustain on the front line while becoming a really decent support to stun when he converts to the tree in the back line over here. Then we have Ardent with the massive AoE damage as well as control and synergy with Eironn over here. So this team is very good against teams where you can actually control units, because you just hold the enemy in place long enough for you to eventually bring them down, because all these controls can be stacked and you can manual this team to min-max in terms of pushing. So the only thing that this team is not good against is basically teams which are control immune. So that is the basic drawback, or maybe against other Lily May teams. But even against Lily May teams on the enemy side, you can put in units with insta ultimate like Bryon if you have Bryon built up, or if you have, for example, Nero built up, you can cast your insta ultimate to actually let Eironn's insta ultimate go through first. So you still have options for that, but I'll say these 3, they are pretty core. But let's say if you don't have Ardent built up, right, you can actually use Lily May as well, and then put in controls from the other factions to better fit into the team. So my current strongest iteration is one with Bonnie, with Ardent, and then for me, I also have Smokey in this team sometimes, because right now AFK stages, they are mostly single stages, so you can actually use units from another team in this team should you not be using that team specifically. So for Smokey is just really good for the buffs as well as for the damage should you need additional damage for the team, and at the same time you can also use Eironn to manually pull the enemy in so that they will be hit by Smokey's aromatherapy right here. So other combination obviously includes just having even more damage with Lily May right here. So I'll showcase a few variations and let you guys see the power of this team in general. So Bonnie is one of the strongest and best addition to this team archetype, with the ability to do damage as well as debuff the enemy right here. So this is, I'll say, like the core. If you don't have Bonnie, I think any other damage dealer works as well, but Bonnie is just really good for this team, so I'm gonna put Bonnie here. And then for this one, looking at the enemy, there's quite a bit of taunt, so Smokey might not be that good. I'll just go out with full damage with Lily May right here, and we're gonna throw in the snowman spell, because this way you have the snowman to taunt the enemy, you have Eironn to pull and immobilize the enemy, you have Almas's Prowling Root to stun the enemy, Ardent to root the enemy, as well as Bonnie with the ultimate to stun them. So you have a lot of control, which just makes the opponent stay in the original spot and die, right? So without further ado, let's showcase this team right here. Okay, So Eironn starts the ultimate, pulls everyone in, immobilize them, and then Prowling Root just root them in place. And then the Snowman will drop to taunt the enemy to prevent them from attacking Eironn and Almas in the front line. And then we have all the units cycling their skills once again, and you can see this team just pulling all the enemies together, not allowing them to do anything, right? So this team is also really strong in the PvP side if you're able to pull off this continuous control. So for this one, the reason why Eironn, Arden and Almas, they are the core is because these units, they are the main control units for the team. So for the other units like Bonnie, they are mainly DPS. So Lilimei can also be the DPS if the battle draws out long enough, but let's say you have Bonnie built up, then you can maybe for the Lilimei slot in other supports or other damage dealers based on the needs against the enemies. So right here we have our dear Parisa here. So I don't think we have any issues with the offense, so we will actually put in probably Smokey here to showcase the Smokey heal capabilities. So this will give you additional buffs for your backliners to do more damage, and you can actually manual Eironn's ultimate to pull the enemies towards Smokey's aroma cloud. So we're gonna do this for this stage just to showcase that synergy. So this team can pivot into the Smokey team should you not be able to push through the stage in case your damage is not enough, right? But in most cases, if you have Bonnie in the team, if you have all these Eironn, Almas and Arden in your team, you should have enough magical damage, and if you can control the enemy, you should be able to push through the stages pretty easily. Okay, so we put the enemy in and then we are done. So this is with the Smokey heals and buff, and then we're just going to showcase one more. So the strongest control variant in terms of this team would probably be one with Tamasia. So this is because, right, for Tamasia's case, right now Almas's Prowling Root's ability can actually proc with multiple control abilities, right? Displacement. So Eironn's ultimate is a form of displacement. Knock into the air, Tamasia's Stampede is knock into the air. And then stun or root, which is knockdown, which is from Arden. So you have multiple different control types that synergize with Alma's Prowling Roots over here really well to continuously activate this ability, to continuously chain stun the enemy itself. So that's why this is currently like the best control trio, at least like this three. And then Arden sometimes can be replaced with Tarsi, for example, if you do have your Tarsi built up. So Tarsi provides you with that sleep control as well as massive AoE damage as well. So this team has quite a bit of flexibility in terms of the units you can substitute, but I'll say the core for this team is Eironn followed by Almas, right, to activate that control as well as the Wildest Tau for your seasonal stages. So for this one, I will put in Damien because we have quite a bit of control here, so we need a bit of sustain. And let's start this battle. So let's say if you donate that control or taunt from Snowman, you can definitely use the harmonic spell to give you more offensive DPS. Okay, so right here we might have some issues with survival, so let's just recalibrate the team a little bit. So Tamasia might not be the best. We're going to use back Arden for even more control, and then we're going to use harmonic spell. I think we should be able to chain lock them and then win the battle. So let's go at 2 times. So this, one of the issues with this team would be if your opponent has some sort of control immunity, then it might not be as strong. But as you guys can see, once you can go into the cycle of spamming the ultimates from Eironn as well as Almas, you pretty much lock the enemy in place and then you just continuously shoot them down. So harmonic spell gives the additional haste as well as attack buff for the DPS. Okay, so Bonnie died here, but Bonnie will still be one of the main damager in the team because of the Decay's Rage, as you guys can see. So I think this fight here showcases the DPS potential of Bonnie should Bonnie actually fall in battle. So we are only left with Almas right here, but because of the residual damage of Bonnie, we are able to push through. Okay, so this is the team performance, and that's pretty much it for my 2 best PvE teams for my free-to-play account right now. So there are other combinations that I use from time to time. For example, against the Twisted Corrupt Creature, I will actually put in the likes of Florabelle for a more zoo-centric team, as well as Feresto to have more bodies to prevent the teleporting ability of Twisted Corrupt Creature from pushing through. But let's say if you have the 2 previous team, which is the Mauler team as well as the Eironn team, I think you're pretty much good to go to push through most of these AFK stages for this season. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do remember to like and subscribe to see more. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.